In this section, let's create the users management page, but for that page, we need to have some components, so we will first create them. The first component is, let's go to the SRC and create the first component. Inside of SRC, components, and dashboard, we have the page access and the send message. So I create a new folder with name of users management. This is it. And inside of that, I want to create a new file with name of LatestUsersSection.tsx. This is it. So let's close this Explorer for now. Here, I will first import the moment from the moment, and also I import the IAuthUser. I need these two. And after that, I will create an interface for the iProps. And what do we need for the props of this component? We need to have the users list, which is the type of IAuthUser array. This is it. And after that, we can create our component. So let's use RAFCE. And after that, let's delete this React. We don't need it. And let's use the format document. So we have this iProps, and let's destructure it. So I want to destructure something from this iProps, and I want the users list from it. So this is it. And after that, let's create a new function for selecting our users to show to the front end. So I will say const of the selected users equals to this users list that I'm receiving from the props dot sort. We use the sort of JavaScript, and inside of this sort, we use an arrow function, and we will receive the A and B for this sort, and we will check that if the A dot created at is less than the B dot created at, we want to return 1, else we will return -1. This is it. Let's format the document. So this const of selected user will return the selected users in order of the created at for us. That's it. Then let's go to the return section and let's delete this. And for its main division, I want to have some class names of colspan1 and bg of white and padding of 2 and rounded of empty. This is it. And after that, let's create a new h1. And for this h1, I use the latest users for its text. And also I want to have some class names like the text of x large and also font of bold. Let's format our document, and this is it. So after this h1, I will open a curly brace because I want to use JavaScript. And inside of that, I will use the selected users.slice from 0 to 7. So I will select just a slice of this selected users. And after that, I will use a map function on this sliced array. And for this map, you know that we can receive an arrow function. And for this arrow function, we can simply receive the item. And for each item, I will return a division with the key of item.id. And also I use a class names of bggray of 100 and padding of 2 and margin y of 4 and also rounded.md for it. And inside of this division, I want to have another division. And for this division, I want to have another class names like the flex and justify of between and items of center. And inside this division, what do we need to have? The first thing is I want to have an span with the class names of text of large and also font of bold. And I will show the item.username inside of this span. And after this span, I want to have another span with the class names of padding x of 2 and text of sm and also text of white with the bg purple of 500 and also rounded of lg. And inside of this span, I want to show the moment of item.created at dot from node. And this is it. So these two spans are inside of this division. And after this division, I want to have an h6 with the item.firstName and an space to have some space between them. And after that, I use item.lastName. This is it. So let's use the format document. And I think it's okay. So if I press enter here to see it better, now you can see that this is the structure that we are mapping over the selected users list on it. And okay, let's format the document. So this last user section is, this latest users section is completed. Let's close it and go to the next section. Now, let's implement one of the most important components that shows us a chart. Let's create it. So let's go to again to the components and users management. And here again, I will create a new component with name of UserChartSection.tsx. That's it. And let's minimize the Explorer for now. And here, let's import the IAuthUser and roles enum from the types. And after that, I want to import something from the chart.js, as you can see it here. So what do we need to have? I need to import the chart as chart.js and the category scale and linear scale and point element and line element and tooltip and legend from the chart.js. So I use some of them, and you can go to the document of the chart.js for more information. It's not really important for us, and our focus is just on the security. After this, I want to use the import of line from the React Chart.js 2. We use all of them inside of the line that is coming from the React Chart.js 2. And after this, we need to use the chart.js.register, and inside of that we will register this. So we will register the category scale and linear scale and point element and line element and also the tooltip and the legend. This is it. And after this, let's create an interface of iProps for our component, and inside this iProps, we will define what do we need. So we need to have the users list, which is the type of IAuthUser. So let's use the format document, and let's press enter here and also here to separate them. This is it. After this, let's use RAFCE to create our component, and I will delete this React, I don't need it, and that's it. So let's destructure the inputs. So I want to destructure from the iProps the users list. This is it. Let's use the format document. Well, this is it. Now we need to create some labels and some values for our chart. So let's create them. I want to have a const of chart labels with the values of roles enum.owner and roles enum.admin and roles enum.manager and also roles enum.user. So this is an array of these four. And after that, I want to have the const of chart values. And in the initial phase, we will use this empty array, but we will create all of them right now. So let's use the format document to clean up everything. In order to calculate the chart values, it's an easy way. Let me show you that. We can use the const of owners count equals to users list dot filter, and inside this filter we will receive the queue, and we will check that if the queue dot roles dot includes the roles enum dot owner, and we will calculate the length of this filtered users list. And after calculating the length of this, which belongs to the owners, we can simply use chart values dot push the owners count. So this is for the first value, and after that, let's go and create the const of admins count, which equals to users list dot filter. Again, we will receive the queue, and we check the queue dot roles dot includes role enum dot admin dot length. With this, we will calculate the length of the admins inside of the users list, and then we use the chart values dot push admin count. Now I think you can guess the next ones. Let's implement them. So after that, we can use the const of managers count, which equals to users list dot filter, and again we receive the queue, and we will say that queue dot roles must include the roles enum dot manager, and we will calculate the length of it, and we use the chart values dot push managers count, and after that let's use the const of users count, which equals to users list dot filter, and we will receive the queue, and we calculate the queue dot roles that includes the roles enum dot user and the length of it, and we use the chart values dot push this users count. So you saw that we easily calculated all of the values that we need for our chart. So this is it. We push 4 different values into our chart values. So now we have the chart labels and the chart values, and we can use it inside of our component. And now let's create a const of chart options. And first, let's create these options outside of the component and use it. So we use these chart options, and the chart options is an object. And inside this object, I use the responsive equals to true. And also we can use the scales for the X and the Y. So this scale, this is an object, and inside of this object, we can have an X. And for this X, we can have another object. And inside of that, we can use the grid. And this grid is again an object, so you can see that this is a JSON structure. And for this grid, we can use the display of false, so it would be false. And after this X, we can have the Y. So the previous one was for the X axis, now we can use Y axis. And after that, inside of the Y, we can use the ticks and we can use step size. So let's use a format document. So we created the chart options for our chart, and now we can use it on our component. So let's continue, and this was for the chart options. And after the options, let's create the chart data. So I use the const of chart data, which equals an object, and we need to define the label. So I will use this chart labels array that you can see it here. And after that, we need to define the data sets for our chart data. So let's use the data sets, and you can pass an array to it. And inside this array, you can have multiple objects. So I want to have an object, and inside of that, I use the label of count. And also for its data, I will use this chart values that you saw it here, and we created it. Then we updated it with these 4 lines. That's it. And after this data, we need to have the border color. So I used some colors for the border color, and also for the background color, and also for the point border color, I use transparent so we don't see it. And also I use the tension of 0.25. This is it. So let's format my document again. And now we have the chart options and chart data, and now we can simply implement it. So let's delete this. And for this division, let's have some class names of color span of 1, and on LG we choose color span of 3 and BG of white, and also padding of 2 and rounded of empty. This is it. And after that, let's have an H1 here. And for this H1, I want to have class names of text of X large and also font of bold and margin bottom of 2. And I will use the users chart for it. Let's have another format document. Well, now we can use our chart. So let's create it. I will create a line component. This line component, let me show you, is coming from React JWT. And we can have some props for it. For example, we can have the options and we use the chart options, and we can have the data and we use chart data. So we created this chart options and chart data outside of our return, and we use them here. So our code is more readable and more clean. So after the options and the data, let's have some class names for it. For example, BG of white and also padding of 2 and rounded of empty. And that's it, simple and easy. So this is it. This is the user chart section. So I think it's okay. Let's close it and go to the next component. And now let's create the next component. So again, let's go to the components into the SRC. Let me show you again where we are now. So we are in the SRC components, dashboard, users management. We are working on the users management page. So we have this user management folder inside of components dashboard. So let's create a new file with name of UserCountCard.tsx. And in this component, I just import the icon type from the React icons. And I want to have an interface of iProps for this component to define my props shape. So what do we need to have inside this component? The first thing is the count with type of number. And after that, I want to have the role with type of string. And also I want to have an icon with type of this icon type that is coming from the React icons. And after that, I want to have a color with type of string. That's it. So let's use the format document and press an enter here to separate them. And after that, we can create our component. So I will use RAFC again inside this component. So let's delete this React. And now we have this. First, let's destructure all of the props. So I want to destructure from the iProps these values, which are the count and also the role and the icon. But I rename this icon to a big I and then CON because I want to use this as a new component, and you will see that soon. And after that, let's use the color, and that's it. So we have all of these, and then we have the return section. So inside this return section, let's delete this, and let's use the class names of Tailwind for it. So I use padding X of 4 and padding Y of 6 and rounded of LG and flex and justify of between and align items of center and also text of Y. This is it. And after the class names, I want to use a style for it. Let me show you how I can do this. So for the background color of it, I want to use the color that is coming from the props. This is it. So let's use the format document. So we are using this background color as this style of this component to have the background that is coming from the props. This is it. Let's have another division. And inside of this division, let's have an h2 with class names of text of for x large, and we show the count into this. And after that, let's have another h2 with class names of text of x large and show the role. This is it. Let's format it. So we have the main division, and inside of that, we can have another division. And after this division, let's have another division to show our icon. And I will open a curly brace inside of it. And also I use icon. So this is the icon that is coming from here, from this alias, and this is the way we use the icon that is coming from our props, because it must be the capital in the first of it. So for this icon, we can have some class names like text of white and fill of white, and also text of 6 large. And that's it, simple and easy. So let's use the format document, and I think everything is okay, and we implemented the user count card. Now let's go to the next section. And in this section, we will use this user count card. So let's close this and go to the users management again. And here, let's create a new component. So I use the name of UserCountSection.tsx. And inside of this, we will use the user count card. So let's close this. And let's import the user count card from the /userCountCard. And also let's import the /user and roles enum from the types. And after that, let's import some icons that we want to use it. So we need to use the FA user and FA user cog and FA user shield and also FA user tie from the React icons /FA. And this is it. After that, let's create an interface of iProps for the component. So what do we need to receive? We need the users list. Again, we type up /user. That's it. So let's press and enter inside of this interface line and use the format document. That's it. So now we can use the RAFC to create our component. And as always, let's delete this React. We don't need it. Let's destructure the props and object from the iProps, and we destructure the users list from it. So now let's see what we need to do. We need to have the count of all of the users types and show them. So let's create all of them here. So I will create a let of owners with a default value of 0, and also an admins with 0, and the managers with 0, and the users of 0. So we have 4 different variables and they are 0, but we will calculate the value of them for now and then we use them. So let's go to the next line. And here I simply use a loop. So I use a users list dot for each, and inside of this for each, you know that we can have an arrow function and we can receive the item. So this item, we will use this item to calculate the owner and the admins and the managers and the users. It's so easy. Just look at me what I'm doing. So I will check that if the item dot roles dot enclose the roles enum dot owner. So this is an owner, and I will add 1 to the owners. So I will use owners plus plus. Else, if the item dot roles dot enclose the roles enum dot admin, now you can guess that we need to add it to the admin. So I will use admins plus plus, and after that we will check that. Else, if the item dot roles dot include role enum dot manager, well, you know that it's manager, so we can use the managers plus plus, and we can use else if the item dot roles dot includes roles enum dot user, we can use users plus plus. That's it, easy and simple. And you can see that we are using this function, and we will calculate all of the values that we need just using one for each loop. So let's use the format document. Now we have this, and now we need to create an object for the users cards data. So let's create it. So I will create a const of users count data, which is an array. And what do we need to have inside of array? We need to have 4 different objects for the owners and admins and the managers and users. Let's create it. So for the first object, I use the count is the owners, and the role is roles enum.owner, and also the icon is for user card, and also for the color, I use this color. And after that, let's have another object again with the count. For the count, we have admins, and again we have role, and it is roles enum.admin, and we have icon of FA user shield, and also we have the color of this. And after that, let's have another one with the count of managers and role of roles enum.managers, and also the icon of FA user type and color of this. And let's have the final one for the count of users, and also for the role we use roles enum.user, and also for the icon we use FA user, and for the color we use this. So this is it. You can see that we created the required data outside of our return section and we use it inside of the return. It's a better idea. So let's continue and let's delete this and let's press enter to create that, and let's use some class names like grid and also grid columns of 1, and on LG I use grid columns of 4 and I use gap x of 4. That's it. And inside of that, let's open a curly brace because I want to use JavaScript, and inside of that I use the usersCountData.map. So we use this usersCountData and we map over this array, and inside of this map we can receive an arrow function, and for this arrow function input we can receive the item and index as always, and inside of this we can return a UserCountCard that we created it just right now, and its UserCountCard have some props. So we will use the key of index, and also we use the count, which is item.count, and also we use the role of item.role, and also we use icon of item.icon and color of item.color. That's it. Easy and simple, as you can see. So let's use the format document. That's it. So we created this user count card in previous section, and we received the count and role and icon and color, and we will render them like this. And inside of this user count section, we use that and we send this data to that component. That's it. So I think everything is okay. Now let's close these both components and go to the next section. In this section, let's go and create the last component that we need, which is the users table. So inside of the users management, again, I will create a new file with name of UsersTableSection.tsx, and we use this component inside of our page. Let's implement it, and I will import use navigate from the React Rotterdam, and I need the IAuth user and roles enum, and also I need button, and I need the moment, and also I need to import the is authorized for update role, and also use auth. This is it. So after this, let's create the props for it. So I will create an interface of iProps with the users list with type of IAuth user array. This is it. Let's use format document. Well, after this, we can create our component. I will use RAFCE to create it, and let's delete this React and continue. So in first step, let's receive this with type of iProps, and we receive the users list. That's it. I need to use the const of user with the name of logged in user, and I will destructure this user from the use auth, and I will use this logged in user name alias for the user. And after that, I use the const of navigate equals to use navigate because I want this use navigate hook inside of my component. Then I want to create some dynamic classes. So let's create a function for it, and I will create a const of roles class name creator, which is an arrow function. And in this arrow function, I will receive the roles, which is the type of a string array. And inside of this function, in first step, I will use a letter of class name equals to and a string with the padding x of 3 and padding y of 1, and also text of void and rounded off 3x large and an empty space. Then I want to change and add some different classes to it. So this is the reason I'm using this empty space. And after this class name, let's compilate it, and we will check that if the roles that includes the roles enum.owner, we will add this color to the class name as the bg of it, and after that we'll check that else if the roles that includes the roles enum.admin, we will add this color to it. So you can see that we are using a pattern and we are adding different classes based on the roles, and that's it. After that we'll check else if the roles that includes the roles enum.manager, we use this color and we will add this color to the class name. Else if the roles that includes the roles enum.user, we will add this yellow color to the class name. That's it. And after all of this, we can return this class name. So let's format the document, and inside of the role class name creator, you can see that finally we have a dynamic class name and we can use it. This is it. So let's go and use them. So we have the final return section. Let's delete it, and instead of that, let's use a class name of bg of void and also padding of 2 and rounded off empty. And after this div, I want to have an h1, and I paste users table for it, and also I can use class names of text of x large and font of bold for it. So let's use the format document. Now this is the users table section final return, and inside of that we have a main division, and then we have an h1. After this h1, I want to have another structure like the table. So again, we can use grid. Let's do this. We have done this multiple times in this tutorial. So I create a new division here. And for this division, let's use some class names of grid. So we are using grid, and we use grid columns of 7. So we will have 7 columns. And I use padding x of 2 and margin y of 1. And I use text of LG and also font of semi-bold. And also I use border and border gray of 300 and also rounded off empty. And after that, let's have a division with the value of no. And after that, let's have another division with value of username. And then let's have first name. And after that, let's have last name. Then let's have the creation time. And after that, let's have another division. For this one, we use class names of flex and justify of center. And we use roles. This is it. And after that, let's use a division of operation. And that's it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see that we are using grid columns of 7 and we have 7 division. Let's use format document. So we have an h1, then we have this division. Now let's minimize this. And after this division, we want to show the list of our users inside of the table. So I will open a curly brace, and inside of that, I want to use JavaScript. And inside of that, I will use the users list.map. So we want to map over the users list. And inside of this map, we can use an arrow function. And for this arrow function, we can receive an user and also an index. So for each user, I will return a division. And inside of this division, first we need to use the key of index for the React purpose. And after that, let's use some class names of grid and also grid columns of 7 and padding x of 2 and height of 12 and also margin y of 1 and border and also border gray of 200 and also on hover I use bg gray of 200 and also I use rounded off empty. And then I want to use a division inside of that, and for it I use class names of flex and items of center, and I will use index plus 1 for this. So the index starts from 0, but here let me show you, this is for the first column. So we use index plus 1. And after that, let's have another division with the class names of flex and items of center. And this is use the font of semi-bold. And we will use user.username. So we will use font of semi-bold for the username. And after that, let's have another division with the class names of flex and also items of center. And we use user.firstname. And after that, again, let's have the same class names. And we use user.lastname. And after that, let's have another division with the class names of, again, flex and items of center. And for this one, I want to use the moment of user.createdAt.format. So you will use this special format, and you can use any type of format, or you can use moment of this.fromNow. But I want to use this format, and we use y-dash-mm-dd, and then we show the hover and the minutes to the user. And after this, let's have another division, and for this division, let's have some class names of flex and also justify of center and items of center. And inside of that, I want to have an span with the class name of roles, class name creator of user.roles. So this is the reason that we created this role class name creator. Let me show you. This is it. It will receive the roles with the type of string array. And you can see that we are passing the user.roles to this, and we will receive the class names and use it inside of this span. Simple and easy. And let's continue. So we will use the user.roles inside of this span, and that's it. Let's continue. And after this, let's have another division. So we have the operation division here, and this division is for it. So inside of this division, we can have a class names of flex and also items of center. And for that, we can have a button component. So we can use a label of UpdateRole, and also on click, we can use the navigate of. We need to go to a dynamic role, so we use backticks and we use /dashboard /updateRole / and we use $sign and curly brace to use JavaScript, and we use user.username. So we will go to the /dashboard /updateRole / this username. And after that, let's have the type of button, and let's have variant of primary, and also let's use the disabled. So we will check that if the is authorized for update role is not, and we need to pass the logged in user.roles of 0 and user.roles of 0, and this will check, and this, let me show you, is authorized for update role is inside of the auth.util.js that we created it previously, and you can see it here. So we need to control the owner cannot change the owner role, and the admin cannot change owner role and admin role, and this is used for it. So this is it, and I think everything is okay. And after that, we have two divisions, and then we export default this user table section. So let's use the format document, and I think everything is okay. Now let's close this and go to the next section. In this section, we can finally implement the users management page. That is the most important page of our website, and we created some components for it. So let's do this. Let's go to the SRC and the pages, then go to the dashboard, and here let's see the users management page. This is it. Let's first import the required components and functions. We need to import the user fate and user state, and also we need the Axios instance and the users list URL, and also we need the IAuth user, and we need to import the latest user section and user chart section and user count section and users table section, and also we need to import the toast and the spinner. This is it. So we created these 4 sections and we use them inside of our user management page. This is it. So we don't need to have any props for this because this is just a simple page, but we need to have some state. So let's create them first and then continue. So I will create the users and set users, which is a user state with type of IAuthUserArray, and I use the default value of an empty array for it. And after that, let's have another state for the loading and the set loading, which is the user state with type of boolean with default value of false. And after that, we need to have a function for calling our backend. So let's create it here. So I define the const of getUsersList, which is an asynchronous arrow function. And inside this arrow function, I want to have a try catch block. So in the try block, I use the set loading of true, and then I use const of response equals to await of Axios instance.get. And for the return type, we use IAuthUserArray, and we pass the URL of users this URL to it. Yeah, that you can see it is /auth/users. And after this, I use the const of the data, which is destructured from the response, and then I use it and I call set users with this data, and after that I set the loading to the false. So this is for the try block, and in case of any error, we will be inside of the catch block and we receive this error. So I will use toast.error with the message of an error happened, please contact the admin, and I use set loading of false. This is it. So let's use the format document, and after that we need to call this getUsersList. So let's do this, and I will create a use effect with an arrow function, and I use an empty array for its dependency, and inside of this use effect I will call getUsersList. So this would be called after the component is mounted. This is it, and let's continue. And after that we need to check the loading state. So we will check if the loading is true. We can simply return a new division with class name of width of full, and inside of that I will use our spinner component. So this is it, and again let's use the format document. But if we are not in the loading state, we will go to the final return section. So let's delete this, and let's use class name of page template 2 for the division, and after that let's have an h1 with value of users management, and also let's use class names of text of 2x large and also font of bold for it. Now I use the format document. So inside of this users management page, we use the page template 2 because this is a page. Then we have this h1, and after that I want to show my different sections. So I implement the user count section with users list of users, and I pass my users array, which is here, this state. I will pass it to this users count section. That's it. And after that, let's have another division because I want to show two sections instead of this division. And I use the class names of grid and grid columns of 1. And on LG, I use grid columns of 4. And I use gap x of 4. And inside of this division, first I use the users chart section, and I will pass the users list with the value of users to it. And after this user chart section, I use latest users section with the users list of users. And these two components are inside of this division. And after this division, let's have the users table section with the users list of users. So you can see that how simple and easy is this users management table. We created all of the components outside of it and we use them here. But we will use the users inside of this component and we'll pass it to all of the other components. So let's use the format document and let's check our users management page on the front end. And let's log in and let's use one of our users. So let's check one of our regular users because the user and the manager don't have access. For example, this user 6 is a regular user. So let's use its username and password. So we logged in as user 6 and we are a user. Our role is user. So can we access to users management? No, we don't have access. That's good. Let's log out. Now let's check the manager. So this is the manager, user 2. Let's log in with manager role. Now our role is manager, and let's check users management. Well, we don't have access. That's good. Let's log out and check an admin to see do we have access. So this is user 1. And let's log in. Well, this time our role is admin, and yes, you can see that now we have access to the users management page, which is /dashboard/users management. And here you can see the cards here in the top. We have owner, admin, manager, and users, and the data. So we have 1 owner, 4 admin, 2 manager, and 6 user. And here you can see the users chart, and here you can see the latest users with the username and the item that created add with that from now, which is 6 days ago, 2 months ago, and the others. And we have username, and we have the first name and the last name. And after this, we have this users table. Well, you can see this is really, I think, good and reusable and useful. So we have no username. Username is bold, and we have first name and last name and creation time. And you can see that we are using this format for it. And for the roles of it, we can see that we have different classes for it. For the user, this is the user, this is admin, manager, user, and you can see the color are different because we are calculating them dynamically. Then we have operations, and you can see that we have these buttons of update role, but some of them are disabled. Why? Let me show you. So we are admin, and our business logic says that as an admin, we cannot change the role of the admins and the owners. We can just change the role for the manager and the user. So because I'm admin, this is a user, I can update his role. This is admin, I cannot, and the button is disabled for the updating role. For the manager, it is here, I can use it. So if I click on this update role, I will be redirected to the /update role /user9. We didn't implement it, and we will implement it in the next section. Let's go back to user management. So if I click on this for update role for the username with this username, we will be on the /update role its username. That's it. But for this, which is admin, the button is disabled. And here, this is admin, it is disabled. And also for the owner, the button is disabled. And also you can see that for the other users and manager, it is enabled. So we implemented our users management, and everything is good and everything is working. And the final page is the update role. So when we click, for example, as an admin, and you know what, before that, let's check the owner and see it. So let's log out and use the owner. So I think Mahmoud was the owner. Yeah, Mahmoud is the owner. Let's log in with him to see the access of the owner on the updating role. So if I with the owner role, if I go to the users management, everything is the same. But here you can see that I can access the operations of update role for the admin. So I can change the user and the admin and the managers. But again, the owner is disabled and this is a part of my business logic. So if you want to implement it in a different way, you can think about it and implement it in your auth.utils that we calculated everything. So you can see that as the owner, even I can change the role of an admin. And if I click on it, we will be redirected to the update role page, but we didn't implement it yet. So let's go, and in the next section, let's implement our update role page. And now let's go and implement the update user role page. So let's open our Explorer again, and this time let's go to the SRC and pages and dashboard, and we need to open the update role page. This is it. It is an empty page for now, so let's start. And we import the use effect and use state, and also we need the use navigate and use params, and also we need to import the spinner component, and we need the iAuth user and iUpdateRole DTO, and also we need the Axios instance, and we need the update role URL and users this URL, and also we need the toast and the use auth hook, and also we need to import the allowed roles for update array and is authorized for update role from the auth utils. And then we need to import the button component, and that's it. So let's format the document, and we don't need to have any props because this is a simple page, and that's it. But we need to have some states and also some other functions. So let's implement all of them one by one. So first, let's use the const of the user, and this user will be the structure from the use auth, but I use the alias of logged in user for it, and this would be the structure from the use auth. And after that, let's destructure the username from the use params, and also let's have a state for the user and set user, which is a user state with type of iAuth user, and then let's have another state for the role and set role, which is a user state with type of a string, and after that, let's have another one for the loading and set loading, which is a user state with the type of boolean and default value of false, and also let's have another state for the post loading and also set post loading, which is a user state with type of boolean and value of false, and also let's use a const of navigate, which is use navigate. So we need to navigate our user, and also we have two different loadings because we have both get method and post method. So we use loading, and also we can use post loading. So you can see that it is really easy. So after this, we want to have another function here to get our users from the backend. So let's implement it. So I create the const of get user by username, which is an asynchronous arrow function. And instead of that, I want to have a try catch block. This is it. First, we set the loading to the true, and after that, we use the const of response equals to await of Axios instance dot get. We want to get the user from the backend, so we use the return type of iAuth user, and for the URL of it, we want to create a dynamic URL. So I use the backticks, and inside of that, I say that I open a $sign and curly brace to use JavaScript, and I say first thing is you need to have the users list URL, and after that, let's have a forward slash, and then let's have another $sign and curly brace, and let's use the username. So the backend URL would be users list URL slash our username. This is it. And after this, we can simply destructure the data from the response. Now we can have a simple validation. So we will check that if the is authorized for update role is not, and it is false, and we need to pass the logged in user.roles of 0 and data.roles of 0 to it. So if it is not authorized, we can simply use these commands. We can use the set loading of false, then we can use the toast.error of you are not allowed to change role of this user, and after that we can automatically navigate our user again to /dashboard/users management. We have this user management. Let me show you inside of the utils config, and I think it is inside of the it's inside of the routes path. This is it. So you can use path of dashboard.usersManagement. This is it, but I'm showing you that you can use either this way or that way. There is no difference, and this is just an example to show you that you can again use these strings, and it is not a problem for us. So, After this, we check that if it is not authorized, we will do this. Else, we want to set the user to the data, and also we need to set row this data dot roles of 0, and we use the set loading of false. This is it. So why we are using this? Because we are disabling the button on the users management page if the user is not allowed to change and update the role. But if the user uses that username and go to the page of the user update role, he can send this request to the backend. So we are avoiding that. This is it. And after this, we can implement the catch block. So if we have any error, we will go to the catch block and let's implement it. So we can set the loading to the false, and also we can use the const of error equals to error as a new type with the data and with the status, because this error is, you can see that it is unknown. And after that, we can use a const of status, which is error. So with the structure the status from the error, and we check if the status equals to 404, we can use the toast.error of username not found. Else, we can use the toast of error dot and error occurred, please contact the admins. This is it. And after that, we can use the navigate to the /dashboard/ users management. So let's format the document, and this is for the get users by username, and let's minimize it and go to the next function. And we can implement another function for the update role, which again is an asynchronous arrow function. And inside of that, because we are working with the backend, we can use a try catch block again. This is it. So we have a get user by username and an update role. And in the try block, we can check that if the role is not exist or the username is not exist, you can simply return. Else, we use the set post loading of true, and then we can create a new object with the name of update data with type of updateRole DTO, and it is an object, and in this object we have a new role with value of role, and also we need to have a username, and we can use just this username because the key and the value is equal. And this is it. And after that, we can use the await of Axios instance.post. We don't have any return. It is not important for us, so we can simply call await of Axios instance.post. This is it. And also we can use the update role URL for its URL, and for its data we can pass update data to it. And after this awaiting, we can use the set post loading of false. So our loading is finished, and we use toast.success with the value of role updated successfully. So this message would be showed as a toast to us. And then we use the navigate to the /dashboard/users management. So this is for the case of success. And if we have any error, we will go to the catch block and we receive this error, which is unknown. In case of any error, we can simply use the set post loading of false, and then we can use the const of error equals to the error as a new type with the data of string and the status of number, because we said that this error is unknown and we need to cast it to a new type. And after that, we can destructure the status from the error. Then we can check this status, and we say if this status is 403, we can simply use the toast.error of you are not allowed to change role of this user. Else, we can use toast.error of an error occurred, please contact the admins. And then we can use navigate to /dashboard/users management. But in any case, we have a toast.error or a toast.success. This is it. So let's use the format document. So we implemented the get user by username. This is it. And also we have a update role. And that's it. So let's continue. Now we need to call that get. So I create a use effect, and I will pass an arrow function to it, and I use a dependency array for it, which is empty, and then I call get user by username. So this get user by username would be called when the component is mounted. After that, we need to check the loading state. So let's check it here, and I will check if the loading is true. We can simply return a division with class name of Vita full, and also we return the spinner component. Else we will go to the final section. So let's delete this update role page text. That was just a temp, and let's use some class names for the main division, like padding of 4 and also width of 50% and margin X of auto to be in the center, and also we use flex and flex of column and gap of 4. And inside of that, I want to have another division. So let's create it, And inside of this division, let's create an H1. And now let's format it to be better. So this is it. And for the inner division, let's have some class names like bg of white, and also padding of 2, and rounded of md, and flex of column, and gap of 4. So this is it. Then we have an h1, and here I want to use the update role, and let's have some class names for it like text of 2x large and font of bold. This is it. So after this h1, I want to have another division, so let's create it. So I use a division with the class name of border, and also border of dashed, and border of purple of 300, and rounded of md. And inside of that, I want to have first h4 with the class names of text of x large, and inside of that, I will show the username with a new span with the class name of text of 2x large, and also font of bold, and margin left of 2, and padding x of 2, and padding y of 1, and text of purple of 600, and rounded of md, and the value of this username. And after that, I want to have another h4. Again, I use the class names of text of x large, and I use the current role with a colon, and then I have another span with the class names of, again, text of 2x large, and font of bold, margin left of 2, padding x of 2, and padding y of 1, text purple of 600, and rounded of md, and for its value, I use user.roles of 0. This is it. So we have two h4s inside of this division. So let's have an enter here to show you. So inside of the second division, first I have an h1, then let's have an enter. Then I have this division. So let's minimize this division, and let's have enter after that. So we have an h1, then we have a division. Now let's create the next section, which is an h4 with value of new role. And for this h4, we can have class names of text x large, and then font of bold. So we want to show the new role. So let's press enter twice to separate it. So you can see that now I have three children. So an h1, a division, and h4. So after this, I want to have a new select. So let's implement it. So I implement a new select, and I use the value of role for it. And then I use some class names like width of 80. And after that, I want to implement the unchanged. So on the unchanged, you know that we can have an arrow function or an ordinary function. Here I use an arrow function, and I will receive the e or the event, and I use set role of e.target.value. This is it. So after this, inside of the select, we need to have some options. This is an HTML concept. So let's open a curly brace to use JavaScript, and inside of that, I use allowed roles for update array of logged in user.map. So we'll map over this array, and then we use the arrow function inside of this map. And you know that we can receive the item from the map function, and for each item, we can return a new option. And for this option, we can use a key of item and a value of, again, item. And inside of that, I use item. So everything is our username. So we'll use it for all of the key and the value and the input label of this option. So this is it then. This is the select element. So let's have enter. So this was the next children of this component. Let's continue, and then let's have another division here. And we can use some class names for it, like grid, and grid columns of 2, and also gap of 4, and margin top of 12. And inside of that, I just want to have some buttons. So let's implement all of them. For the first one, I use a button with label of cancel, and on click, I will navigate to /dashboard/UsersManagement. And for the type, I use button, and for the variant, I use secondary. And then we can have another button with label of update, and on click, we call the UpdateRole function. And for the type, we can use button, and for the variant, we can use primary, but for this one, we can use a loading with the value of post loading. And that's it. Then we export default the update role page. So I think everything is okay. Let's format the document. That's it. And let's minimize this to see the main structure. So in the final section of the component, we have a main division. Then we have this division, and inside of that, we have an H1 and one division, and H4, one select, and another division for our button. So I think everything is okay. Let's go to the front end and check it. And you can see that the page is updated automatically because we logged in as an owner. So let's go to the user management and let's refresh to be sure that everything is fresh. So you can see that I'm an owner, so I have access to updating the roles of the users and the admins and the managers. So let's check it. For now, you can see that I have 1 owner, 4 admins, 2 managers, and 6 users. Let's change all of the managers to users for test. So we have 2 managers, so this is a manager. Let's update its role. So we will come here. So the username is user9, and this is its username, and current role of him is manager. So for the new role, you can see that I have access to admin and manager and user. Because I'm owner, I can access to the admin and manager and user. But if I'm the admin, I just have access to the manager and the user, and we will see that later. So let's change this to a user. So user, for the user9, I use user. If I press cancel, I will be redirected to the users management. That's okay. So let's update the role of user9 to a user and check it. So if I press update, well, role updated successfully. Now we have 1 manager and 7 users. And here you can see the chart is updated. And here you can see that the user9 now is a user. So let's find the next manager. It's the manager is here. So let's update the role of this to a user. Update. Well, now you can see that we have 4 managers and 8 users, and the chart is updated. So good. So we don't have any manager for now, but we have 4 admins. So let's delete all of the admins for test. So I make everyone user. So this is admin. Let's change. Okay. Now you can see that I have 1 owner, 2 admins, 0 managers, and 10 users. And the chart is updated. So good. Let's update these roles. User. Okay. User. So now I have just 1 owner and 12 users, and I have 0 manager and 0 admin. That's so good. So you can see that it is working, and the chart is updated, and everyone is user except for me. I'm the owner. So let's create a new admin because I want to have an admin. So let's use one of them. For example, this user. For example, user. Let's update the role of him to the admin and update. Okay, now I have 1 admin, 0 manager, and 11 users. Let's log in with this admin. So who is the admin? The user. Let's copy his username and log out, and let's log in again with user login. So login was successful. You can see that I'm admin, and do I have access to users management? Yes, because I'm admin. So you can see that this time I cannot update role of this user, which is admin, and I cannot change the role for the owner. But I can change the role for the users and for the managers. So for this Johnny, let's update his role. And if I come here and I choose this, you can see that I have access only to the manager and to the user. And we implemented this inside of our auth-util. So you can see that I can change this to a manager. So let's update. Now I have 1 admin, 1 manager, and 10 users. And we changed the role of this admin. So let's check the logs of this user. So let's go to the my logs, which belongs to this user. And here you can see that a minute ago we have a log of user role updated. And then we have a minute ago a new login. That's so good. So it seems that everything that we wanted to implement is working, and I think we checked everything. So we checked the user page, yeah, and we checked the manager page and the admin page. So as admin, we have access to all, but don't have access to owner. That's good. And we checked all of these functionalities, and I think everything is okay, and our project is done. So this was a project that I wanted to implement because some of you asked in the comments when I created the JWT Authentication tutorial, and this is a full stack project, and you can use it on your real world projects, and all of the codes are available on the GitHub. I hope this project helps you. Let me know your precious opinion in the comments, and let me know what do you think about this tutorial. Have a good time and goodbye.